background. I'm working on a scratch sheet. Same stuff, same Bristol board, so we get the same effect. But this is just going to be a demo for color matching. So I'm going to start trying to match this color here. And when looking at the color, remember you need to ask, I think, at least 3 questions. You need to ask what the hue is, what you would generally call it. You need to ask whether it's warm or cool, and what value it is. And that'll help you kind of gauge where you need to be. This is a yellowish green for sure. So I need to have those two. It has a bit of warmth to it. So maybe I'll pick the warmer yellow, and this is the warmer green. There's a lighter green in this Faber-Castell set. So I can start with that and see where we go. I'm going to do it along the edge here so I can see what we got. See, I'm lightly, not pressing down much. Just kind of going after that color. There's 2 ways, I should write this down, 2 ways of working with colored pencil. There's burnishing and there's layers. I mostly work with burnishing as a method. It does not get you the crispest photorealistic potential that you could get, because what it does is it flattens the tooth and really sullies the paper and the tooth with the colored pencil, to the point of there not being much fiber there to pick up multiple layers, and so you may not be able to get a really fine white line on top of a dark area, but it does go a little bit quicker. It'll also leave a shiny gloss on over top when the image is done, so you need to be aware of that too. I've just used white, was more or less trying to help me blend the 2 together. I use white a lot for blending. But when I put that up, I can say, oh yeah, it's definitely more yellow right now. It needs to be a little bit darker. Let me come back with some of this. If I can darken it up a little bit, and if I'm getting closer that way. If not, maybe we'll have to find a 3rd color. Usually though, you don't want to go beyond 3 colors. I kind of don't use white in that mix or formula, or I don't count it as a color that I'm mixing. But okay, so now we're 2 green. All right, now we could compare it in here. That's a tough call with the way the light's hitting this. Yeah, add a little more yellow to this, and then maybe I'll risk it and add some of this. It might help, it might hurt. We'll find out. Oh, I think we're getting close. I'll blur my eyes. Those work pretty well together. I just need to get a better blend going on my paper. There's another video online that I'm going to share that is not mine. I'm not the author of it, but it does a good job showing you the layering technique. And why show you right now if it's already been videoed and I can share that with you? So, but that, I feel like that's pretty good. You compare it up here with this one, it's definitely a darker shade, right? I don't know, what do you think that matches better with? This one? It's definitely not enough there, but you can see the differences here. That seems pretty close. So that's matching 1 color. Let's match maybe 2 more, so you can kind of get the swing of this. I mean, that wasn't too bad. It was these 3, and what I would do if once I've matched a color, a mark beside the color that I made. What was the point of that, right? So anyway, that's kind of why I don't use white. White blends most of the time anyway. White is the one that you're going to probably run out of the first, if you run out of any color. So if you think you might need to buy an extra white, be aware of that. When you get halfway through it and you're still not done with the piece, if that is the case, then I would go ahead and order another one just as a backup so you don't run out of time waiting for something to come in the mail. Anyway, these 4 pencils made that color. Let's pick another color. Let's go with this square here. Let's see what that is. Well, when I look at that, it's got some green, it's got some blue, and it seems to be a little middle tone. It's definitely cold. It's not warm. It's leaning towards green, not towards purple. So let's say we probably need to pick this blue. This seems, from the selection we have, this is the only blue that's leaning towards green at all. And I'll show you what the others, all 3 of these, they all appear to be leaning towards red or violet, I guess I should say. So they're just at different stages. This is a beautiful, like kind of a, Old Holland paint has a color that looks a lot like this called violet gray. But anyway, these aren't gonna work for us. They're too warm. And if there's any warmth in this at all, it's more yellow. It's not more red or orange. So got blue, and let's pick a green that's maybe leaning towards yellow. Let's see what these do for us. Again, I'm gonna work on the edge. I'll start with the green. Sometimes these colors look different when you start, depending on what you lay down first. And that's good to be aware of too. You might have to make 2 tests as you go. I'm definitely getting kind of dark pretty quick with this blue. I'm gonna bring this green back on top. I don't know, I'm not feeling it. This might be a tough one. Let's get some white in there and see what happens. Okay, when we compare that, bring it over here. Yeah, it's definitely too green still. We need to get some more blue in there, right? Gonna go against what I just said and see if I mess this up by putting this in. Pushing down pretty hard now to get things to blend together. That's not gonna give me much room to continue to guess. That's better. See if I get this edge of the paper covered so it's all right. That's getting close. Around the edges of my blend, it doesn't work very well. Let me see if I can get a cleaner shape with this combination so you can. Found the white in this set is definitely harder to make blend. It's not as soft as like the Prismacolor pencil. It's frustrating sometimes. Okay, so let's test this out. That feels like a more solid color and it's not too bad. It's a little on the green side. I mean, I think I'll darken things around the edges to kind of give it, this block of wood has a little bit of grain to it. Now add this and see if that, just to kind of put some streaks in here, see if that helps us feel convinced. I'm very lightly going over it now. Very, very lightly. Let's compare now. All right, that's pretty convincing. Hope you can see that in the video. Not quite satisfied with a little bit of it here. Do notice though, as I'm blending, I don't want any of the white paper to come through. No white paper. Just the color pencil. Okay. I think we can work with that. Now as I'm matching these colors, that color makes up the majority of that flat side, but if I see a shadowed side of that block, And that's going to be a completely different color to match. I want to make sure that I state that. You know, this, you know, we're looking for color shapes, and that's going to include colors within the shadows. So every area, if you think of the color shapes as like puzzle pieces connecting together with if you take one color and surround it with enough of the other puzzle pieces around it, you're going to map space. You're going to get that three-dimensional color. Let's write down the formula for this. All right, let's pick one more color. Pick the gray, the metallic. That's going to be tricky, and I'll show you why. The second you mix something up and you bring it over to match, you know, the reflection is going to exist and it's going to potentially change. So that, well, maybe that's worth seeing me struggle through to help you guys. I want to be a resource. So I'll start with this gray, which is probably dark. This might be the majority of it, but I do need to look for other things in there. I mean, when I look at this reflective surface, it's just, you know, this might be one general color on top, and this area, this kind of triangular area, might be that one color. There are singular colors in here. They're just thinner, and they're sitting side by side with other thinner colors, or I should say color shapes. So we've got one, I mean, I'm seeing like a thin strip of this piece. I mean, this is almost an exact match, really. So maybe that's not fair for me to start this, but I feel like I've got something here. This is probably my darkest gray. So I'll stretch that out. Maybe I'll try to mix the two, so or show you several. So that feels like a decent match to me. I'm not sure if the camera's getting the same angle here when it comes to the reflectivity. Now, there is a lighter gray that might come close to this. So I'm going to bring this to the side. Okay, it's a bit colder. This is warm. I need it to be a little bit colder. Let's see what happens if I bring this guy back in. You know, when it comes to grays, you know, working with grays, we do need to pay attention to temperature and see if we can mimic anything. Now that got darker, so let me see if I can lighten this up some. Well, that helps. Yeah. All right, then it might be warmer right beside it. Now, so if I put this down beside it, it should render or register a little bit different. Yeah, that's pretty good. I see a little bit of a dividing barrier here that feels darker, so I'm gonna lightly bump that in, get rid of the white I'm seeing, but it's a little bit of a line there. I shouldn't say line, it's a little bit of a blur, a dark blur I'm seeing here. It needs to be a little bit blurrier. You're gonna do tiny, small circles to get that going. All right, I'll work this back on again. Probably the hardest part of all this is making sure you preserve white areas. That's going to be really important. We line that up. That's looking pretty convincing now. So, and what I see is a thin line of this coming through right here. What do I see next? All right, another round of that. And this one's kind of warmer because I'm starting to see the reflection of that peppermint. So I need to grab a little bit of red in here. Hint of that. I'm going really light with that. I'm going to come back in with this gray. Blend that out. And if I'm not mistaken, I feel like that ends with a little bit of this, and that's like the edge. It's like the edge of that reflection there. I could work the other way. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Now, working the other way, I'm actually seeing some red again. Not sure what that, I don't know if that's coming from the shirt that I'm wearing or not, but that's just something else to consider. What you wear while, if you're around reflective material that you're trying to draw, it could be, obviously that's an exaggeration. I just wanted to see how far out it came. Okay. But it might be necessary for you to wear the same thing while you're working, just to make sure that you've got, you know, multiple sessions that you're working with are taken care of in terms of, you know, keeping things consistent. All right, where are we at? Where are we at? All right, I need to get a lot lighter as I come into here, and it's got some more of that blue in it too. So I kind of add some gray on top of here, try to pull a little bit of this color out. Went a little overboard with it. Want to dull it up or tint it some. And as I come down here, gonna add a little bit of this, not much. But mainly, I need to see if I can get that white back on. I'm starting to press down really hard because I'm not getting exactly where I need to go. It's gonna, that light area though is gonna warm back up. I actually need to skip a bit in order to show the white. So let me jump that so you can kind of see the highlight and after. And it's actually gonna get a little greens. There's a little bit of this going on in there. So it's gonna be a little tricky. You can see what I've used so far. I'm just, for the ones I have used, I'm gonna put these two down, some of that, and now I'm gonna come back and see if I can add a little bit here. Green that up some. I think it's gonna get dark again. Well, not quite, 'cause it's kind of dark in the middle. All right, that's a pretty good match from my angle. I hope that's matching well on camera. It's working pretty well. There might be a little bit on here. I don't want to get too close to that other color. I'm just trying to make things line up, but I feel kind of good about that. Maybe that green needs to gray up just a little bit more. So there's an example. I need to take a picture from where I'm at here. I'll do that and then upload that to the video. But I hope this helps. With layers, well, I'll attach the video that I'm talking about that shows the difference between burnishing and layering. I guess I'm doing a bit of a combination here. I did wind up pushing harder later on, and I wasn't doing very light layers on top of each other. That does take a long time to do. Burnishing is quicker. The results are a little more immediate, but it's a little riskier because you can't kind of backpedal as easily as you can as you're doing with the layers. If you're doing it in the layered light stroke approach, it will erase a little bit. And then the colored, the gift wrapping, like invisible tape, you can always put that on top and burnish over it with your fingernail and pull it off, and that can help a lot too. All right, let me take a picture of this, then you'll see it in just a second. This is the photo. It doesn't line up exactly, and I did recognize that that red spot in the middle of what I drew did turn out to be the shirt that I was wearing. So when I got the camera close enough to line up what I was attempting, it didn't line up exactly because it was missing the red shirt. The reflection was definitely different from the camera's angle than my angle, but I hope you can see some similarities.